So right now we are going to take a look at the formatting practice in Google Sheets, which was formerly known as Excel formatting practice. So you might see the title, kind of be different places. But what we're going to do is we've got a bunch of information here in columns and rows. And the spreadsheet's really good at organizing things in columns and rows. Remember, columns go vertically and rows are horizontally or left and right. Columns are up and down. So all spreadsheets run the same way. What we are going to do with this is run a scenario. Scenario is your boss has told you to run out and grab all this information. And so you did. You filled in all the holes. You got all the information. You found all the data. And then your boss tells you, well, you did such a good job with that. Maybe you should present this to the board of directors. Now, the thing about the board of directors is, they're a bunch of old guys. They pretty much run the show, and you want to make sure that you give them, that you make a good impression, because they're the ones who, hire and fire and give people promotions and that kind of thing. So what you're not going to do in trying to impress them is you're not just going to show up with a spreadsheet full of numbers, columns, and rows like this. If you were to print this out, see the grid lines that you see here on the screen, they don't actually print unless you tell them to. So the grid lines are only for editing at this point, which means that if you were to just print this out, you would end up with a white sheet of paper with a rectangle in the middle of it, or maybe up at the top, that would just have all these numbers in it. And a lot of your board of directors, first of all, they're going to understand right off the bat that you don't really care about your job, because you didn't do anything above and beyond. You're really not trying to impress them or make a name for yourself, and they don't really like that. Second of all, you might actually make a few of them a little bit upset, because for some people, this kind of thing could be hard to read, especially if you got to understand, this is a pretty small collection of data. If this was a couple of hundred columns wide and a couple of hundred rows deep, then it would be very difficult to read if there were no grid lines, no colors, no schemes, no nothing. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this formatting practice look like this formatting example. Now, we may not get it exactly because the formatting example was done in Microsoft Excel, but I think we can get pretty close. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here just with the title. Okay, now you'll notice that in my example here, this is one big cell. It's got the title centered inside that one big cell. It's got a color in the background, in this case, it's light gray. And then some people have a little hard time seeing it, but if you notice, there's actually a border around that cell. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And that just happens just right up here in the toolbar. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to highlight the 9 cells across the top. Now, remember, we don't want 9 cells. We want one big cell. That's a function called merge cells. And the button for that is actually right here, merge cells. Bam. So it puts those cells together for us. Then we're going to take our title, which is still just sitting right there, and we're going to center it. The button for alignment is right here. And right now it's set for left alignment, and we're just going to move that to the center. Okay, so we're getting closer. We've got our cells merged into one big cell. We've got our title centered. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make it bigger. And so your text size selection is right here. And if we get, close to it, it's probably about 24. And you'll notice that this example looks, probably bolded. So we've got a bold button. It's right here. You've got your bold italics, your underline, all that kind of stuff right there. But now, if you notice, also, we still don't have any background color or any border around it. So we're going to go ahead and use our paint bucket tool right here, fill color. We're going to open that up and give it a color. Now, you don't have to use my colors when you do this. You can use pretty much any colors you want. I'm just going to make mine kind of look like the example that I've got on the screen for you. So there we've got the same. It's pretty close color. I don't know, maybe I could go a little darker on the color. Let's try this one. Yeah, that looks pretty close. Now you notice the difference right here between one that has a border around it and one that doesn't. See how that looks different already? So to do borders in Google Sheets is a little bit difficult, I think. The borders button is right here, and what you have to do is you have to open it up, and then the first thing you should probably do is set what kind of border you want. So this first option over here is the border color, and then the second option over here is the style or line type that you're going to put around. And this example is kind of a thick border, so let's throw down a thick border, and we're just going to leave it black. And then this part of the borders button over here is asking you where do you want it. And in this case, we just want it around the outside. So now if you look at it, I mean, it looks cleaner because this is an old, JPEG photo, but it looks nice and clean. It's got a nice big border around it. It looks almost like the example over there, which is where we're trying to go. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. The rest of the assignment is this. You're going to go through on your own and you're going to use these tools up here, which I just showed you, to do the rest of this, the bottom half. Now, I said you don't have to use my colors. That's true. You don't have to use my line patterns or anything like that. You can get creative with that if you want. But here's what I look for when I grade it. Okay? I look, of course, to see that the title is done because we did that together, right? I look to make sure that these column headers up here in this row kind of stand out. They got to pop in some way. So over here in the example, I just made them purple. Okay, now the reason why they should pop is because if you're reading along in this table and you want to kind of notice where you're at, your eye can jump up to that row and back down pretty easy if it pops out. Okay, then down here in the rest of it, just this bottom part, I'm looking for two alternating colors. Okay, white cannot be one of the colors. Two alternating colors. Keep them light so the text still shows. Okay, and if you notice in my example right here, I've got solid lines going one direction. I got dotted lines going the other direction. Now you don't have to use the solids and the dotteds and all that in exactly the same place, but I do want to see one type of line going one way and one type of line going the other way. Okay, so you with me? That's what you're doing. You're going to do the title, which I just showed you how to do exactly. You're going to make these column headers pop. And then you're going to do two alternating colors down here and two types of lines. That's what I'm looking for when I'm grading it. When you're done with it, make sure you submit the assignment to Canvas. Do not share it with my email. Just submit the file to Canvas. I'll get you a grade as soon as I can. It's going to sync that with Skyward. Everything will be happy. Good luck. Have a great time. Should be pretty easy.